All right, all those Maleficent pitch, take one.
Alright, so here's a Maleficent pitch. So the movie, as it plays out, Act 1, we get the Disney version of Maleficent. Act 2, we get a transition to the new Disney version of Maleficent. Act 3, we get a sympathetic ending to the new Disney Maleficent. So here's the changes. Act 2, you kind of keep the general storyline, but here's the thing. You make Maleficent more of a dark temptress. You get her to move the girl Aurora into the shadows. She talks to her. You can still have that...
Converted to the dark side.
Yeah, but you still have that dark side of Maleficent, and you still have that motherly affection, attraction, whatever, right? Mm-hmm. But Aurora is still like the light in the dark. So you still have a little bit of that shift of Maleficent from being evil to the good side. Okay? Now here's the biggest difference. When you get to Act 3, you still follow the same basic events of the movie, where Maleficent has to go in and she has to save Aurora. And she still does the kiss, like the motherly kiss is what saves her. But here's the thing. So Prince...
Does her wings come back to her?
Yes. So Prince Philip has left the room. She wakes up, right? Because she kisses her. So they walk out. The fairies see Aurora. They don't see Maleficent. They see Aurora. So they think, oh, it was just a delayed effect. Prince Philip's things did work, right? So they go to find Prince Philip after they kicked him out. Aurora and Maleficent move on to the castle. They see the King's Guard. They're in the fight, right? And so this whole fight keeps going. She's turned her crow into the dragon. So that whole fight's going on. Maleficent does this whole thing. She kills the king, and she moves on to the castle. At this point, Prince Philip is coming back. The only thing he witnesses is a castle full of dead guards, a dead king in the front lawn, and Aurora. And he sees Maleficent flying away with Aurora. He has no idea what the previous context is. So what does he do? He panics. He gets the fairies. They give him the sword and the shield from the movie. So we are following the events of the movie a lot more closer than we did. So he goes running to the forest with his magic sword and shield. He's breaking apart all the thorns in the wood. He gets in there. The crow's like, whoa, no, I'm not going to fight him. So what does Maleficent do? She turns into the dragon. So we get the iconic, she turns into the dragon scene. Yeah. She fights him. She does a fire breath. And finally the crow, who somehow, turns off from a crow back to, the human form that he's given. He's like, you guys have to stop this. And he explains to Philip what's going on. He explains that it was Maleficent's kiss that did it, because Maleficent was the mother, and she's nice, and she's just trying to protect her. So you do get that iconic fight, you do get that thing, and you get that resolution where Philip goes like, well, you did just kill a whole bunch of guards and the king. So here's what we'll do. You can live in your kingdom in peace. But the story is that I defeated you. The story is that I defeated, the queen who kidnapped Aurora and everything. You can keep Aurora. I will go back. I will be the king. And you can live in peace in your kingdom. And everybody will think that you're evil.
Okay, Aurora comes back with him? Or
she stays with her. So he comes back, and he has some sort of robe, some sort of tattered robes or something. He tells the kingdom, Aurora is dead. I defeated Maleficent. I'm the king now. In the honor of Aurora, we will leave those forests alone, so we won't spark this giant fight again. And that's how you win it. So you get Maleficent, still somewhat evil. She gets her happy ending, and we still get the third act is a lot closer to the original movie ending.
I've got one better, and I have a spare battery. So...
Do I need to get my opinion here? Or?
No.
Well, let me change the batteries first. That way it won't cut off, so...
Okay. So my opinion on Aldo's proposed ending. I'm on the fence about it because it works, but at the same time, I also see a problem of you aren't necessarily to the humans. You are having this bad guy, this revered evil person, but to the forest creature, she is not that, and that was my issue with one of the biggest endings, is that she is one of the biggest bad guys of Disney canon, and everybody's afraid of her. And so at that point, I think you lose a little bit with that. I think there's potential with what you're saying, but at the same time, it's not necessarily what I, as a fan of Maleficent, would want.
Okay.
All right, time for me to tag in.
Uh-oh.
All right, I personally don't really like Aldo's idea, because... Let me close this. This is going to distract me.
Welcome to Geek News special episode.
All right, so here's the ending that I kind of envision. I mean, pretty much everything plays out the same way with the first act, second act, and goes up right until we see the end, until we see kind of the ending of her getting, of Maleficent getting Aurora out of the castle. Now, I don't remember the event specifically, but here's kind of how I would have had the ending play out. Instead of just having it be like, oh, the ends happily for the forest creatures, what happens that you would have... Okay, it takes me a moment because I actually have thought about this because it was in my review. The basic idea is that you have Philip effectively rally the creatures of the forest and the people of the kingdom against Maleficent, because this would tie it to the opening narration of how they would need either a common hero or a common villain to unite both the kingdom of the forest and the kingdom of man together, so that that way they would stop fighting each other. So basically what would start it off is that you do have like the prince meet like the three fairies, but then after seeing that his thing didn't work, he decides to kind of go off. But then as he sees kind of the chaos going on, he decides to basically, well, first he pretty much decides to run off and head for the hills a little bit, finding himself back in the fairies' forest, where he sees some of the fairy creatures that are kind of still miserable because of the fact that Maleficent has basically been a depressed bitch the whole time. Life hasn't been good for them either. And so you kind of get Prince Philip decide to kind of rally them and saying, hey, it doesn't have to be like this. She doesn't have to be the one in charge. Let's use your abilities and actually put a stop to this. Because he still sees all the fight going on with King Sephin fighting Maleficent and the whole metal thingy. And so the idea is that you have Prince Philip leading the fairy creatures to kind of rally against and have Maleficent. And you would still have it from Maleficent's point of view, where the way I would have ended the film is that instead of having it be like, oh, it would still be kind of a big epic battle, but what happens is that Aurora gets caught in the crossfire. And the idea is that instead of just trying to keep the battle going, Maleficent just decide, okay, I'll just let them kill me, it'll end it, and it'll keep Aurora alive. That way she's still you get kind of the code Lelouch.
Are you saying Aurora would die?
Aurora would die or be in danger of dying to prompt Maleficent to kind of think, okay, if I let them kill me, it's like, since I'm the person that they want dead, both sides have turned against me, if I die, Aurora can still live. At least that's how I would have ended it. Kind of still have it be the sympathetic villain, but even have the sympathetic villain that nobody else knows her side of the story. Kind of the whole Code Geass sort of route, with Lelouch kind of unifying everybody against him in hatred in order to basically bring everyone together. Kind of disorganized, I admit. That's how I would have ended it.
So am I hearing it, or how do you... Okay. I liked a lot of your idea. However, I would look. I'm just that. I can see Aldo laughing in the background. I am just that much that she should stay a villain, and she should stay one of the most hated villains ever. So I would add on to it. Aurora does die, which spurs her on into murderous rage. And then at that point, she goes down fighting. And then at that point, people can say whatever they want, but at that point, I think, to me, because Aurora in that last little bit of the movie was kind of that flower of hope, kind of reinvigorating. That would be the last bit of hope snuffing out, and then you knew what you were going to have. If Maleficent won, this was the way things were going to be in the kingdom.
Yep.
And then at that point, she has to die. And at that point, I have no problem with her dying.
Well, yeah.
Because then at that point, her integrity as a villain is sustained.
Plus, that would also make the more of the animosity between Stefan and Maleficent even a lot stronger, because they were both effectively fighting for the same thing.
Yeah, because one of the things that was the biggest argument for me in the Maleficent film was the fact that she got her wings back. Because then at that point, all the reasons that she was cruel, you're basically saying that, oh, well, if you fixed it, doesn't matter. And that was my issue with it. So at that point, it wasn't that she was like a sympathetic villain. It's just like, oh, if we make the hoodie spots better, she's okay. She was just cranky for half the movie. That's what it turned out to me as a Maleficent fan. And I went, are you? And I literally, in the theater, are you kidding me?
Yeah, I pretty much thought the same thing.
So, there you go.
Yeah.
I like the theory there, but again, she can go down fighting. I don't care. But maintain her integrity as a villain.
Yeah, that was the thing that bothered me, is because they tried to tie it so heavily to the animated film, and I'm not sure how we should really end this little segment since this was impromptu. So,
do you want to know how we should end it?
Maleficent dying, apparently.
Raccoons.
That was perfect!
Raccoons.
It's my raccoon impersonation.
You saw nothing.